Stephen A., in his J.J. Redick conversation, and he went into this deal about how black coaches called him that were upset that J.J. was on a podcast. And anyway, Stephen A. took some blowback for that and has now come out and issued another statement where he basically says Whitey should just mind his own business. Let's play the clip.
Black coaches called the black commentator to complain about a black superstar doing a podcast while his black head coach was on the hot seat before he ultimately lost the damn job. What does that have to do with white folks? Some things are none of your damn business.
Nothing.
It was a black on black thing, but you got other folks who will remain nameless working for other networks with their irrelevant ass selves, popping their junk, okay? And the fact of the matter is, it has absolutely positively nothing to do with that. It's about the fact that this situation end up looking the way that it looks optically. And now LeBron James is going to have to go out on that basketball court with what you said, Shay, knowing that JJ's got to walk into that locker room with what Udonis Haslem said in terms of, hey, when JJ talks, you're going to have people raising that proverbial eyebrow, wondering whether it's coming from him or whether it's coming from LeBron. Yeah. All those things you're going to have to deal with. That's just the reality of the situation.
And a lot.
So that's Stephen A. talking about Doug Gottlieb, who Doug Gottlieb is white, but if he were black, Stephen A. and everybody would be talking about he's made history. He's the first Division I basketball coach who also hosts a daily sports talk radio show. He's a historical figure. He's untouchable. He's a groundbreaker. He's this and that. But he's talking about Doug Gottlieb, who, again, played college basketball. His dad was a legendary, I think, high school coach. Again, played against a lot of pros, covers basketball, knows a lot more about basketball than Stephen A. Smith. But because he's white, he needs to stay out of this. Steve, help me out here. How is this allowed at ESPN? This sort of racism.
Well, that's kind of par for the course. Couple things. Doug Gottlieb, I don't think ever hit 17 three-pointers in a row, but Stephen A. Smith did admit he's better at basketball than he is. So I will give Mr. Smith some credit for his honesty. Couple of things. I have a question. So Doug Gottlieb is a white guy, last I checked. Let's say he would have chimed in and said, you know what, I think Stephen A. Smith is right. A black coach is being aggrieved. It's unfair what they're doing to Darvin Ham. Would Stephen A. Smith would have said, excuse me, you're still a white guy. You don't have a right to speak out on black people's business. See, this is, and I see this all the time on Twitter. When you rip a fighter, the boxers will say, well, you never fought. Okay, I've never seen a boxer actually tell anybody, thank you for the praise, but here's the problem. Have you ever fought? It's hypocrisy. This is not about even a cultural or racial issue in my view. It's just about, are you agreeing with me? The other thing is, Stephen A. Smith, the way he talks like he's going to do something, if you ever saw footage of him trying to do boxing training, he should never raise his voice in anger. What is he going to do about it? And I get this all the time, or sometimes. Steve, it's not something for you to speak about. You want to bet? Either you believe in the First Amendment or you don't. And by the way, those very same people that draw these color lines in terms of subjects and what you can discuss, they break these lines all the time. A lot of these people spend an inordinate amount of words on other races and cultures. They are not even subject to the own rules that they lay down.
I was going to tell Steve, I do think I've seen a clip of Stephen A. boxing. It's not the prettiest thing I've seen. So if you want to pick a fight with Stephen A., you might be in pretty good shape. A couple things. What does this have to do with white folks thing? This is the same argument they make for black on black crime. You're like, hey, we should probably do something. Let's make the neighborhood safer. What's that got to do with you? You just keep letting black folks kill black folks. It got nothing to do with you white people. It's the same thing we do with abortion. You let us keep killing black babies. Why would you make an argument against killing black babies? So nonsense. The other thing I would say is there's obviously a double standard here, because this is the argument Monica McNutt and all these women are telling him, hey, These are women's issues. Let women speak about the WNBA. And he sure stuck his neck out there with Shannon Sharpe and the rest to keep talking about these women. So is it only a color thing? I don't know.
I'm just trying to figure out, why is he allowed to get away with it? There's no one at ESPN that could say, hey, man, we can't have a white person come on any of our shows and say, hey, black people, stay out of it. This is a white issue. Stay out. It can't happen. So why is he allowed to do it? I don't understand it. I mean, I understand the politics and the dynamics of it, and that we've created a system where, again, it's like black people can drop the N-word anytime, any place, anywhere, and we're all good with it. Black people can shoot and kill each other without ever anyone saying, I wonder if they hate black people. You know, because, again, we're very comfortable. Someone can go on the air and say, you know what, Jason Whitlock is criticizing rap music. That means he hates black people. But if a black person shoots another black person, you can't say they hate black people. Our brains have been twisted into pretzels playing some sort of racial game. Who are the rule makers? Who comes up with this? What's the algorithm that explains why Stephen A. Smith, because they're talking about J.J. Redick. He's white. Mm-hmm. And so now we're saying a white person can have no opinion on that? Can Stephen A. and these guys sitting on there talking about hockey? Mm-hmm. Stephen A., I think Shannon Sharpe, is it PK Subban or
yeah, PK Subban? Yeah.
Yeah, they're sitting on there talking, and PK actually, I guess, played hockey.
Played for the Preds here.
Yeah. But they can all talk about hockey, but Doug Gottlieb can have no opinion on something going on with J.J. Redick and a conversation that they made racial?
Well, Stephen A. is trying to actually inch Redick out of it. He's tried to from the beginning. He says it's got nothing to do with Redick, could have been anybody. I'm talking about how this related to how LeBron was affecting Darvin Ham. So forget the white guy, could have been a black guy or anybody else. It's the fact that he was putting his black coach in jeopardy. And you said, who makes the rules here? Well, these are the laws of intersectionality, right? And this is why Stephen A. actually gets put in a pretzel when he plays this card only when he can play this card, and that's against white people. Because then you get into women, and he has to shut up when it comes to women. And then you get into gay people, and then the women have to shut up because of the gay people. And you got this hierarchy of victimhood, and at the very top, you have these black, lesbian women. You go down the list, and they're the biggest victims in the world, and they can say whatever they want, and everybody else has to shut up. So that's the law of intersectionality.
What is keeping Doug Gottlieb?
Black transgender woman. Go ahead, Steve.
What's keeping Doug Gottlieb from saying, hey, you need to at least have averaged 2 points in Division I basketball to have an opinion on basketball if we're going to draw these lines? I'm just saying, if we're going to have like this mark of like either you're good enough or you're knowledgeable enough to speak about a subject. Last I checked, Doug Gottlieb played Division I basketball, and there's actually like statistics and there's proof that he played. He was actually on TV, had a professional career overseas. The other thing is, if Stephen A. Smith really wanted to make this a racial issue, that I got to stand up for the brother man and not the other man, shouldn't he be more upset that J.J. Redick, as a white guy, was fast-tracked to this job and it was not a black coach? And then he actually replaced a black coach. So he's not even being – to me, it's just like it's not a big deal that Doug Gottlieb as a third party chimed in. Look, everyone's allowed to have an opinion, and we're allowed to have opinion on your opinion. That's the way it works, right? But the fact that Stephen A. Smith, I think I saw a tweet where he was congratulating J.J. Redick. I thought that was kind of gutless. I thought this was about this whole cultural movement that black coaches called you about what they were doing to a black coach. Okay, we'll go all the way then, Stephen A. Talk about why did they hire a white guy in this position? I think once again he's taking the easy way out.
None of these people want a fair meritocracy, period, end of story. And so that handcuffs them as it relates to J.J. Redick. They don't want objective standards. They can't say, Stephen A. Smith's not in position to say, hey, J.J. Redick is completely unqualified for this job. He hasn't prepared to be a coach. He just got a job being the number one broadcaster. He didn't prepare for that. He wasn't qualified for that. Because if Stephen A. talked that bluntly and honestly, what he knows is that, because J.J. Redick's no punk. J.J. Redick will be like, oh, you want to talk about qualifications? You've written a book full of lies and fabrications that's been called out publicly, and you're calling yourself a journalist? I'm more qualified to be the Lakers head coach than you are to be seen as some type of journalist. J.J. Redick is capable of stating that. And so that's why Stephen A. Smith can't talk. And again, it's like all of these DEI didn't earn it people, and they come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. They all have to participate and pretend like they don't see the fraudulence in each other. Because once one person points out fraudulence, eventually someone goes, oh, I got a mirror, let me hold it up to you and show you how fraudulent you are. And so they're all doing a very dishonest dance and lie. And I'm not saying that people of previous generations never got undeserved jobs and positions. But it wasn't nearly as pervasive as it is now. The qualifications right now seem to be the lower your qualifications are, the more qualified you are for these positions. That's how a J.J. Redick gets this job. He's standing on the shoulders of Stephen A. Smith. Help us grow the Fearless Army. Pound that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with all your fearless friends.